I'm at Three Springs Farm in Oaks, Oklahoma with farmers Emily Oakley and Mike Apple. Thanks for having us out today.
Thank you for coming.
Emily, can you tell me a bit about your farm?
Yes, we're a certified organic vegetable farm, do some fruits and herbs, and we grow for the Tulsa Farmers Market in a small CSA. It's our full-time job, and it's a two-person operation, and it's our living, and we love it.
Now, how long have you been growing here?
We've been on this property, this is our second season. We farmed for 3 years in West Tulsa on a couple acres before moving out here, and it's a great place for us to do our farming.
Okay. And Mike, can you tell me a little bit about your process, the seeding?
Yeah, okay, so when we start our seeds, we use this, what we call our Germination Box, and basically it's an old recycled freezer that we picked up. Someone gave it to us for free, actually. It's well insulated. We use just a little heater here, which has a thermostat, and we keep it about 80 degrees for all our seeds. It seems like even lettuce germinates really well in there. And we just stack our trays in there, and we wait for the seed to pop, and when the seed pops, we take it out and bring it into the greenhouse.
How long are the seeds usually in here?
We know some seeds like lettuce takes about 2 days, tomatoes about 3 days, peppers a little bit longer, 4 days. So we just check them, dig around, see when that seed, just that little white tip has popped out of the seed. We take it out. If we wait too long, the seeds will get leggy because it's really warm in there and things grow quick. And it's the light.
Yeah, let's go look at the greenhouse then.
Great.
Okay, so from the growth chamber, you bring your plants into here?
Yes, this is a greenhouse we made just from materials that we got at local stores. We bent these conduit pipes, so it made it pretty cheaply. We grow our plants in these 200 cell trays, so we can get a lot of plants in here, about 20,000 plants when it's pretty full. Right now we just have a few more successions of tomatoes and peppers and basil to go out. And what we do, we plant it into a really good, rich potting soil that has worm castings in it, and that gets the plants really off and running. And then we supplement it with some fish fertilizer, some seaweed fertilizer. And right now, we're actually on these taller plants, we're holding back because we don't want them to get too large for when we use it on our transplanter. Last year, the plants got a little bit too big and it was very difficult to transplant. So we want them a little stockier. They get a little bit stressed out, but they'll be going out into the ground soon. And once they hit the ground, they just take off.
Okay, well, let's look at some of the equipment you use to transplant these then.
Great.
I noticed you have all of your drip tape rolled up here.
We do. We use the strip tape because it's a great water conserving technique, and that's really important to us as organic farmers. And when we visited a farm outside of Oklahoma City, we actually saw the farmer using these recycled electric spools to roll up his strip tape at the end of the season, which does a lot of good things for us because it saves us time and it also allows us to reuse them rather than throwing it away at the end of the season. So it's a great thing for home gardeners to do as well because you can get smaller spools. You don't have to have such a big one.
And then you're not wasting it.
Exactly.
It's perfectly fine to use from one season to the next.
Yeah, we've had some for 5 years now, so it's a great product.
Okay. And what do we have here?
This is our bed maker. So we plant everything on raised beds, and it serves a couple of purposes. We have a slight slope in our field, and so in order to kind of slow the water down when we get those big Oklahoma storms, we like to have the furrows that this little shovel creates. It also really packs it in, and it gives us a good seed bed for good germination rates. And it also does heat the soil up a little bit more in the spring and gets things off to an early start.
Just by raising them up. And Mike, you were talking about planting before. This is the planter. You want to tell us how this works?
Yeah, when the seeds are ready or the transplants are ready from the greenhouse, we use this transplanter. Our first year we planted all 20,000 of those transplants by hand, and we realized we needed a different system to save our back. So we were lucky enough to find this piece of equipment. It's pretty simple. It's the tractor pulls it. So Emily's driving the tractor. I'm sitting here in the back seat. There's a little shoe down here that opens up a furrow, and as it's going, it's ground driven. I'm feeding plants into this carousel right here. The stem goes here and the root ball is out here. And as it goes down, it closes on the plant. It goes down, 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 and then it drops it into the furrow. And then these back wheels kind of pack it in. So it's very efficient, and actually it just plants things very quickly. We can plant our rows now in a matter of minutes rather than hours. And This we added this last season, and it's really revolutionized how we transplant, because now we can give a little shot of water to that transplant with even a little bit of seaweed fertilizer and help with transplant shock, and we don't have to irrigate for days afterwards.
Ooh, let's go take a look at those, Rose.
Great.
Okay, so we're in one of your fields now. Can you tell me about this field?
So right now we have a cover crop on it. This is actually an oat grass that we seeded about a month ago. It's taken a little bit of time to get established because of the cool temperatures we've had this year.
Okay.
There's a little bit of peas here for nitrogen, and the idea is to let this grow, cover the soil during the period in which we're not using it, and then we'll till it in and we'll start making the beds. So this is actually an example of part of it that's just been tilled with the rototiller, and it's ready for us to make beds.
So after we've rototilled, we come in with the bed maker, and we make these raised beds, and you can kind of see how they're shaped. And so this is where the tractor tires go, is in these furrows. And we also have little bolts on the back of the bed maker that marks the place where we're going to plant. So that way, when we're coming in later with our cultivator, we don't hit any plants. Everything is perfectly lined up, and it just makes it a lot easier that way.
Okay, well, let's take a look at some of the beds that are planted.
Great.
Because you're an organic farm, you can't use conventional herbicides and or inorganic fertilizers. How do you fertilize, and how do you weed plants?
So for fertility, we're going to be relying mostly on the cover crops in the future. We have used chicken litter because it's available locally, and it's something to kind of give the soil a boost, because when we first got here, the soil was pretty low in nutrients.
Okay.
We also supplement with some foliar sprays, fish emulsion, and seaweed. And then in terms of weed control, we actually, this is a good example. We've actually just come through here with a cultivator, and the tractor straddles this bed, and there's sweeps, which are just kind of little knives that just go right underneath the soil and kind of uproot everything. So we're able to cultivate or weed a good amount without having to do a lot of hoeing. And then we'll come back later and hoe in between the plants. And so being a two-person operation, we have to try to find ways to utilize the tractor and save time. In terms of pest control, actually, these potatoes have been getting eaten by Colorado potato beetle, and so we try to spend a couple hours each week just coming through and picking them off, and hopefully that will stop them from really getting established, and we won't really have to use any chemicals. Or, in terms of organic, there are certain organic pesticides that we can use, but we try not to use them anyway. We try to really rely on our diversity and picking things off by hand.
Okay. Now, I think it's very interesting. You're growing organically. How did you two get involved with this?
Well, we went to a really interesting college that was experiential, and so there were campuses around the world, and we studied sustainable agriculture in 5 different campuses in different global regions, and we got to see farming in many different settings, and we're inspired by what small-scale farmers are doing in places like Nepal and Bangladesh and Costa Rica and Ecuador, and there's just a tremendous diversity of ways of doing things. So we kind of got our philosophical background that way, and a little bit of hands-on stuff, and then we interned on a really successful organic farm in California, and that's really what gave us the foundation for being able to come to Oklahoma and then put it into practice.
Okay, wonderful. What types of crops do you grow here? There is a great amount of diversity. I see that.
Well, we have about 40 different crops, and most of them are vegetables. We do some herbs, some fruit that's coming on. We planted some blueberries. It's a perennial crop, so it's just getting established, and it'll be a few years before we can harvest it. We try to grow as much as we can so that if, for example, the potatoes get eaten by Colorado potato beetle and we're not able to pick them all off, that we have so many other things that we can fall back on. It also really attracts people to our farmers market stand where we sell, because they see a good diversity of stuff, and it makes them want to come and buy something.
Now, I would like you to expand a little bit on that, how you market your product.
We sell to the Cherry Street Farmers Market in Tulsa 2 days a week, Saturday and Wednesday mornings, and that's pretty much how we make the majority of our income. We do sell a little bit to restaurants, and we also have something that's called a community-supported agriculture, where people pay us up front at the beginning of the year when we really need the capital the most, when we're buying seeds, when we're trying to heat our greenhouse with propane, when we need when we need to spread chicken litter. There's just the amount of expenses are great, and there's very little capital coming in, so the CSA really helps us that way. And then during the course of the year, people get produce throughout each week, and it works great for them. There's a connection to the farm. We give them a newsletter, tell them what's going on, and it really creates this community. It really feels like we have people that really care about what we're doing, that support us, and it really helps us during some hard times. When we had a really late freeze last year, people were very supportive, helped us get through it, and so it's really been critical to our operation to have that group of people.
So at the farmers market, we also sell to non-CSA members, and we do that for a 6-month period between April and October. And the tricky thing is making all your income in that amount of time.
Yeah.
And so the great thing about the farmers market is it gives people a chance to come and ask us, how do you grow things? Do you spray pesticides and fertilizers? And gives us that connection with them as well.
Well, I think you have a wonderful operation here. Thank you so much for having us visit.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.